ad agencies, and I picked up this cheap plastic one years ago that I could just throw in my bag and take with me to Comic-Cons, and now it's kind of like my go-to one. It's funny how that works. But I've never been one to worry about having fancy tools, that's for sure. Just a tool. Oh, you're going to get yours framed? That's nice. So I'm thinking on Leia's pistol here that I'll probably just do it like just all black. I don't think I'll worry about putting any detail in here. I really want people to pay attention to the face more than anything, and the fact that she's wearing this unique costume. So I might just do like one or two little reverse lines in here to indicate some detail, but for the most part I'll just end up filling the gun in black. So you said you're getting it framed. Are you just going like just a frame that's like an exact fit, or are you can do some sort of interesting matting around it? I don't know what the cool thing is to do with framing sketches. I used to have tons of like original artwork and stuff framed from other artists I know, and so much of that stuff's just like sitting in boxes ever since we moved into this house. One of these days I'll get it all out, and some of it's already framed, and get the rest of it framed again. And probably do a matte. Yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe try to find a matte that's like the color of her skin, or something that ties into her a little bit. That'd be cool. It's like with my Star Wars prints, I'll sometimes see people do like these really cool matting and framing jobs where they'll have like a matte color that, you know, kind of complements one of the colors, and it's just like, it's so incredible the difference between somebody who knows what they're doing with a framing job and someone who doesn't. I would definitely be the someone who doesn't. I would just be like, yeah, that's a frame, that's cool. And then I see what other people do, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Oh, come on, Brian. What is that sloppy nonsense? Alright. Nothing better than Princess Leia with a pistol. So are you guys familiar with this version of Leia, the Adventurer version? When I do a digital sketch, do I just save it as a JPEG? Yeah, I told them I'd give them a digital file. This person, they have their, I don't remember if they're in the 501st or the Rebel Legion or both, but they have like their own version of one of the Star Wars characters that they've done their costume of, like a modified or a custom, and they want a sketch of that, and I'm happy to do it. I think it'd be a lot of fun, and so I think they want they probably want something that they can, you know, throw on something that they're going to try to give away, one of the swag items or whatever. And normally I wouldn't like do something like that as like a inexpensive sketch, but I know the person and I told them it'd be fine, so we'll see if they decided to do it or not. I think this Leia is going to be fun. I don't really get to play video games too much, but I see some of the videos and stuff from Battlefront and I think, oh man, that would be so cool. I remember playing some of the older Star Wars games and I would just get sucked into them for days at a time. I'm sure if I played Battlefront, it would be the same way. See if we can do the face and the hair justice here. If you've played the game or read the comics, they did a version of Leia with some like almost like dual bangs on her hair. It actually looks kind of cool. But I even noticed that in some of the comic art and stuff that it didn't necessarily look like Leia, you know? So they did a later version with her hair more like it was in Jedi, and I thought that would probably be a safer bet. Yeah, if you have a Star Wars puzzle, it's probably one that Joe Crony and I worked on. Maybe not. There's some he did on his own too. But I know he's done a lot of puzzle art over the years, so it very well could be. But yeah, this version of her hair, it's not exactly like it was in Return of the Jedi, but it's really close. Like close enough that unless you see the back of her head, you probably couldn't tell the difference. And so the nice thing is it makes her really look more like herself, or more like you recognize her as Princess Leia. And that other hairstyle was really cool, but it just covers up so much of her forehead that it really kind of hurts the likeness, you know. And I think it was one of those things that it worked fine for the comics where they were like stylized and didn't need to have a likeness. But I can definitely see why in the video games they reverted back to a different hairstyle. I'll start with something like that. Just rough it in. You bought it because of the colors. Well, it'll be funny then if it's one I didn't do. That'll make it even funnier. You'll be like, these colors are awesome. They're not yours. Haha. All right. So like a lot of these characters, it's all kind of down to the eyes, right? I mean, the eyes, the eyebrow. It's really what sort of makes them look like them. I'm definitely envious of artists that have like a more cartoonish style where they can, you know, sort of do like their version of a character, and it doesn't necessarily have to have the likeness. because they can be really expressive with the with the figure's gesture and everything without having to worry as much. I mean, I think about people like Katie Cook and Elsa. They do some really good Star Wars art. And you know it's the character. It looks like the character, but it's not like a photo representation of the character. And I'm definitely envious of that. I'm glad they get to do that. I think that takes some of the pressure off, and you can free up and do a little bit more with the poses and stuff that way. I saw a picture on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, for a long time I would color the majority of Joe's stuff. Then it just kind of got to where he was wanting to do more painterly things and I was wanting to do more illustrations, so I don't get to collaborate as much as we used to, that's for sure. I have been coloring some of his girlfriend Ashley's artwork, and that's been fun. Some of her Star Wars art, and I think she did a cover for Aspen comics that I colored. So she's got this vest that she's wearing here, and the vest is going to throw some shadow onto her, and then from like here down it's in shadow. But this costume has like a flap or a seam that goes down the middle of it here. And I want to indicate that these lines go on. So what I'm thinking is like down here, just doing a couple of like reversed out lines, so that when it's all shaded in, you'll understand that these lines continue down, these seams continue down. So hopefully that'll work. And this outfit's cool because it's really similar to the Bespin outfit, but it's not exact. So it's actually a little less detailed, which is kind of makes it easier to draw. Because the Bespin outfit's got like all the quilting on it and her rank badge and everything, and this doesn't have any of that stuff. Alright, so I think that's far enough along that we can start doing some inks on it. And then we'll go back and hit it with some marker and start doing some shading on the face. Yeah, with staying home all the time, now's a good time to work on some puzzles for sure. If you're gonna do a puzzle, might as well do a Star Wars puzzle. I think most of those puzzles that they're making from Joe's art, I think most of those are based on some of the like Star Wars Celebration art that we had done together years ago. I mean, it's his art and my colors. It's not like I did the art or anything. So I'm kind of excited for this piece. I mean, never got to draw this version of the character before, and you know, with all my propaganda art and stuff, I've always thought of Leia as like the kick-ass leader anyway. You know, she's not the damsel in distress type, so it's nice to get to do a version of her like that. So I can be kind of bold with the lines kind of here around the gun, because I know I'm going to fill most of this in with black anyway. But then we get out into the extremities, I'll have to be a little more careful. So is it a process to get approved by Disney? Oh, hi Ashley. Good to see you there. We were just talking about coloring some of your art just a few minutes ago. I don't know how to answer those kind of questions. You know, people ask me like, how do you break into comics, or how do you become a Star Wars artist, or those kind of things. And I mean, the truth is that I'm never the one to seek that stuff out. They tend to see my work elsewhere and then approach me. So I don't have a good answer for that stuff. But as far as the individual drawings, the approval process, I don't have any real horror stories or anything. I mean, it usually just comes down to a yes or a no, right? I mean, if I draw something and if I do a concept or something, and it's usually either like, yeah, that's cool, go for it, or no, we don't really see it that way. So that's my experience. I mean, I know other artists tell horror stories or whatever, but I don't really have any of those. It's just, I mean, the best way it was ever explained to me was Delilah Dawson, who's a Star Wars author. She said, as a writer, her experience, you know, she said, you know, when you go to the bowling alley and you see little kids bowling, and the bowling alley puts those bumpers up to keep them from having gutter balls. And she said that's sort of, you know, how Lucasfilm is when it comes to a writer or an artist or whatever. They're not there to get in your way. They're not there to give you a hard time. Their only job is to keep you from striking out. And I think that's true. I mean, you know, there may be times that you feel frustrated about something or whatever, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's all they're trying to do. Is they're trying to keep everybody from striking out. Now that said, there's weird scenarios, you know, like when the Solo movie came out, it wasn't necessarily a hit right off the bat. So a lot of us that had worked on artwork and stuff related to that movie, some of that artwork will never see the light of day. But that had nothing to do with like approvals or anything. That just had to do with, they're like, well, nobody wants the product, so we're not going to ship it. So what do you think, Ashley? We're doing the adventure version of Leia here today. And I was telling them that I had fun coloring your artwork recently. So I'm thinking like the gun is going to be black, and then a lot of the shadows in the glove are going to be black. And I think in here these shadows are going to be more of a mid value, so I might just revert to more of like just an outline on this arm. But then the vest again will have some really dark shadows, so hopefully we can get some like interesting contrast going that way. When I do a poster, it's a big process to get it approved. I don't know. I mean, they know what my style is, so for the most part, I'm just kind of like, hey, I want to do this, and then, you know, they're either like yes or no. And there's not really, I mean, it can take time, but it's not really like a hassle or anything. I mean, I think the time, just like the waiting, is maybe the only part. I mean, from the time I do like a first version of something until the time it's ready to be made into a silk screen can be like 6 months or more, you know. And most of that's just waiting. Oh, what's your favorite Leia? Oh, good. Well, I had a a fan in France asked for this version, and as you know, I might have had a reason to already be working on one, so it seems serendipitous to utilize some of those ideas here. Kill two birds with one stone, as it were. I know, I wish we could all show off everything, right? Oh, and thanks for the nice words on the colors. It was completely my pleasure. Nothing but fun, for sure. All right, so this hair, just want to try to get some like little strokes going here. This is where I can actually just relax. Just like wisp in these little hair strokes here. Just go on autopilot for this kind of stuff. Oh, thank you guys, appreciate that. Well, hopefully we'll have some more coming out this year. That Han Solo one they just released, I didn't even know that they had released it until like a day later when some people told me they'd bought it. I think that was supposed to be like a San Diego Comic-Con piece. And so once they sort of knew that probably wasn't going to happen, they went ahead and released that artwork. So that's fun to see. Got several other pieces that were supposed to be either San Diego Comic-Con or Star Wars Celebration, so we'll see if they release some of those early or if they wait and see. I don't know. Nobody's told me anything. I just kind of do the art and then see what happens. So anyway, you can see like just some like little wispies for the hair there. Should work out pretty well for us. Try to do that before I just draw the face because I don't want to drag my hand through it. I mean, I could get a glove or put another sheet over it or something, but that doesn't make for a very exciting video. And you can see, like, if I make the stroke fast, it's just so much smoother, right? It doesn't matter if it's traditional art or digital art. If you can just kind of whip something like that, you're going to get a much more natural look. Versus like when I'm over here trying to go really slow and smooth, it doesn't necessarily flow as well. You get a little more control over like the thick thin line, but the organics suffer a little bit for it. And hair, of course, is completely organic, so we want that to really look like it has like a flow to it. Now here we have a situation where we have this piece of hair has to overlap some hair back here, so I'll want to do like a little reverse outline around that. Just kind of maybe right there. Something like that. And I plan on doing some different shades on the top of her head hair, so we can come back and ink that probably a little later. I'm just worried about this sort of main area to start with. All right. You guys know when I get quiet, that's always when I'm concentrating the most. I try to keep the narration up. Now, if this wasn't a video, I'm so nearsighted, right? I would just like whip my glasses off and I'd be like just 2 inches away from this paper, getting the face just absolutely perfect. So because it's video, it's a little bit more challenging for me as a nearsighted person to try to see these pin details from like a couple of feet away versus like sitting like right on top of them. And of course there's no zoom or undo, so I can only do what I can do with my actual eyes. There we go. It's not too bad. So Ashley, are you working on any sketch cards for tops right now? I thought I'd heard there were some set coming due pretty soon or something. I don't remember. You have to let me know. All right, well, we got the trickiest part done there. So again, this vest is really a dark value, so I can just ink these pretty heavy because they're going to get filled in with black anyway. So these can be pretty thick lines. And for those wagering, I did remember my spare sheet of paper today. I didn't have to go fetch it. It'd be the 1 out of 20 times that's true. All right. So let's leave that part in pencil for now. Bring the ink line down thin right there, and then let it get heavier. Something like that. I want this collar to cast a shadow, so let's do something like this. So like the collar shadow and like a fold in the vest kind of become the same thing. All right, well, we've got more to do, but I think that's a good place to start laying in some black values so we can just get all the like black and white stuff knocked out. Must hydrate. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but we are in the 80s here in Phoenix now. We usually don't hit 100 until May, so we'll see what happens. But it's coming. It's definitely coming. And so this is the time of day. We haven't turned our AC on yet. This is the time of day it gets a little warm in here. So yeah, I think it's going to be best we'll just do this gun just completely black. It doesn't really need a lot of detail because we want everyone to look at her face. So once we get Leia done, my cool down sketch today is going to be Carmen Sandiego. So had a couple of requests for Carmen Sandiego. I didn't know she was still that popular, but gonna go. It's the straight up 90s cartoon that they want, so that'll be a good time. Just do a Carmen Sandiego as our cool down. Should be fast and fun. There's some really fun ones coming up. There's a Popeye coming up and some other cartoon characters. So always nice to have a little bit of contrast between the detailed characters and the cartoon characters. Keeps it entertaining. Let's see if we can get this gun knocked out real quick. '80s must be nice. Yeah, like, I mean, that's the great thing about Arizona is like June, July, and August suck, but the rest of the year is really nice. So, once May gets here, usually we have Phoenix Comic Con or Phoenix Fan Fusion or whatever they're calling it now. On like was it Memorial Day? Is that right? But that's usually when we get our 100-degree day. So it's coming up. Be here before we know it. But it's going to be really strange not traveling out to San Diego Comic-Con this year. This will be the first time since 1998 that I haven't gone. So I always joked about wanting a skip year, but I certainly didn't want it to happen like this, let me tell you. And obviously I'll miss my friends and fans and editors and everything, but I really feel bad for the hotel employees and the restaurant employees and the petty bike or petty cab drivers and all those people. Do I do warm-ups and cool downs in my professional work? Sometimes. I mean, it's the smart thing to do, is to do a warm-up and a cool down. But I'll be honest and say I don't always do it. But it's the best way to do it. So it just depends on deadlines and everything, when I first started Hi-Fi, the rule was that each of us had to color at least 4 pages a day. And so I think, the first page of the day was kind of the warm-up in those days. But now what I might do is treat a panel as a warm-up, pick an easy panel or something like that. But I like to do warm-ups when I can. Sometimes even if I'm coloring, I'll just get the iPad out and do like a warm-up sketch anyway, and then color the sketch. I find that's a good habit to get into. So yeah, it depends. But like from a creative standpoint, it's definitely the best way to do it. You're always trying to balance like what's good for you as a creator versus deadlines and projects and things, and everybody's different. I mean, I knew boyfriend, girlfriend, colorist couple, and they would only work on books that were due on certain weeks, and they would take 1 week a month just completely off to work on their own creative projects, and I admired that. I thought that was fantastic. I don't find books to stay on schedule enough to make that realistic, but it worked for them for a few years at least. Yeah, you took San Diego Con for granted when you lived there. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you think about, I can complain about not getting to go, but I think about all the people who never get the opportunity, so I have nothing to complain about. I guess Ashley's not going to tell us what she's working on. She must have disappeared. 3, 4, 5. What is it? Is it 6 o'clock where you are, Ashley? I never know the time zone where you guys are. Try to do a daily warm-up. Yeah, I think that's smart. I do. I mean, sometimes you're like, oh, I've got to work on this project, but then you know, it might fight you a little bit or something like that. And it's like, oh, if you just taken the time to do like even a 10-minute warm up or 20-minute warm up, that project probably would have gone a lot more smoothly anyway. So it's never wasted effort. Now the flip side of that coin is something that a lot of artists don't talk about or don't think to talk about, and that is knowing when to call something done. That can be a real challenge. I mean, we all want our work to be perfect and we want it to look fantastic. And I think one of the things that working in comics, and even before that, magazines and newspapers taught me was you can't be too precious about your work, and you can't feel like it has too much permanence, right? Because, you know, if you're working on a weekly publication or a monthly publication, it has a deadline. It has to go to press. And if you screw up and make it late, you're not just affecting your own job. You know, maybe they don't hire you again and you're out of work. Okay, that's the least of the worries, because then you're messing with the job of the person, everybody that comes after you, right? That could be the lettering, the layout and design, the people working the print presses, you know, everybody. So being late is like not really an option if you're a pro, and you have to learn to know when it's done and when it's time to let it go. And that can be a real challenge for people. I had a friend who was super talented. I mean, he, you know, I'm not saying he's like Jim Lee, but let's just say that he's as good as that. And he would throw away more hand-drawn pages of comic art than, you know, he would throw away enough every month to make 2 comic books. And he just was so uptight and worried about what the fans would think, and what people would judge him. His art wasn't good enough, and he was brilliant. He was an awesome artist, you know. But he just was wrapped up in his head about all that stuff, and he couldn't let it go. And the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter how good your art is if nobody ever sees it, right? If it never goes to print, if it never gets made into anything, then, you know, in his case, I mean, he wasn't doing it just for himself, right? He was doing it to be published, so it might as well just not have existed at all. So that can be a real challenge, you know. I mean, there's plenty of times that I've had pages or projects that I'd like to keep working on or make better, or even after it goes to press, you have a better idea or something, you know, but you just have to say, okay, that one's gone. What can I learn from it, and how can I make the next one even better? And that attitude will really serve you along a lot better than, you know, throwing art away or not showing people because it's not good enough, or it's not ready, or it's not done. And, you know, look, sometimes it's not good enough. And I mean, we've all had projects that we wish we were proud of that we're not proud of. But, you know, at the end of the day, you have to try and fail and then learn from that failure and make the next one better. All right. So we're getting these black areas worked in. And I probably will end up doing like the black line around all the vest and everything, but I just wanted to really get these shadows knocked out. So we can start to see, you know, get like a darker value in here on the vest, and then we can start to figure out the value for the lighter parts, because this bodysuit that she's wearing, I think in the game it's like white or just like off-white, like a cream. It's not really tan, it's more creamy. So we're going to want to go pretty light values for that stuff. Okay, so that's a good foundation to start with, right? That's a good place to be at. So I'm thinking, like I said, in the game in the comics, this is like a dark brown. So I'm thinking maybe we'll go in with like maybe just like a 60% black, maybe a little darker. We'll throw down a few swatches here in a second and see what looks best. But something along those lines. Oh, you guys, I'm so blind. So 80 is probably going to be too dark. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I don't like that. So maybe 60. Yeah, let's try that. All right. Hopefully this is dry or drying. So yeah, we'll do the glove and the vest in this value, and this is the 60%. And then we can start to work on the lighter details of the costume and the face. But that's the cool thing about this costume, right? Is it's got this great contrast with the vest and the gloves being dark. I mean, it's such a great design. There's nothing more boring than like a super monochrome costume where you can't tell what's going on. So having this makes it so much nicer. Right, so we can already see like the difference that's going to start to make with the darkness of the glove, and then if this is a lighter value in here and then dark again, so should look pretty cool. I was hoping that Cartoon Rick might join us today. I know he tried to get on the other day and was having some internet troubles. He's another talented person, but he and I went to school together, and I think we had one class the same each day, or maybe two, and so we'd trade drawings back and forth, and he'd start one and then I would do part of it, and then I'd hand it back off to him, and then he'd do some more to it. And those were always fun, seeing what the other person adds to it that you weren't expecting. And so this is the 50%. So what we'll probably do on her shirt is we'll probably step down 2 shades and do like a 30% for her shadows there. That way we'll have some nice contrast. That should work pretty well. Thank you, Ashley. Oh, you had a FaceTime with your mom. Well, I hope that went well. I hope mom's is doing good. Hope she's staying home and staying safe and hanging out at home like the rest of us. So are these the, yes, yeah. So yeah, everything in this video is a real commission. I have so far only one commission that I'm not videoing, and it's that real crazy one I keep talking about. That was, this lady had wanted as a gift, but yep, I plan to live stream every sketch commission that I'm doing for the most part. So this one is for a collector in France, and he requested Adventure Leia. And actually it was really easy. So it could be Adventure Leia or any Leia pose with a gun. But I thought, well, why not? Right? We're doing it. We might as well we'll do it. So I think while we've got this value out, we can just add a little bit of shading to the hair here. Not too much, but a little bit. We'll come in with a lighter value and hit that again. Yeah, I try to open up my sketch commissions. If not every Friday, then like every other Friday is what I've been trying to do. I mean, since we're all essentially or virtually unemployed right now, it's kind of been good for me. I can connect with some fans and collectors that I normally would only see maybe, you know, once or twice a year, and do some things for them that maybe I wouldn't normally have time to do. So yeah, it's been working out pretty good so far. So like I said, I'll probably go back and add a little bit more black detail to her braid, but I wanted to get in and hit that with some shadows first. And I'll wait and decide if this is going to be the same value I use under her chin or not. We'll see. She's good. She works in the grocery store. Oh. Well, definitely thank your mother for being an essential worker, and tell her we all hope she's being safe as she can be. All right. So I think I'm going to take the, let's see how the 40% looks. Oh, I said we're going to do the 30, I think is what I said. What are we on before? 60? No, we'll try the 40. Oh, it's indecision day here. All right. We will try the 30. We'll see if it's dark enough, and if it's not, we'll jump up one. Yeah, I wondered, Ashley, if you were going to jump on Joe's stream or if you're going to do your own, or what your plan was. Definitely have to keep us all up to date. And I'm not saying that Twitch is sexist, but I'm sure your stream numbers will eclipse mine and Joe's on the first day. So be prepared for a ton of people lined up ready to watch you draw. Her outfit has these little like deco lines on them. So I can do that in marker so it doesn't look so dark. Something like that. Well, I saw that Joe had done a stream last night. I got to see the part of it in replay this morning. Looked like it was really fun. He's so talented. I'm sure there's a gazillion people that are going to want to tune in and watch that. So hopefully it works out really good for him. Hoping to do your own once Joe gets settled in. Well, that makes sense. All right. Yeah. That's gonna work out just fine, I think. So do that. I was debating going a shade darker, but I think once we see this value laid up against this value, that this is the right choice. So it'll all work out. And so again, she's got these like seams right here, and then we're going to do them out as reverse outlines down here. Which once it's all shaded in, that'll make sense. We just want to give something so the viewer can see that they continue on. And, you know, I really liked having these wisp of hairs in here. One of the things Terry Moore told me years and years ago was, you know, to try to leave something undone on the artwork, you know, a shoelace or a button or a piece of hair or something, so that it feels a little more human and a little more organic and natural. And I really try to remember that when I can, because again, it's so easy to make things overly perfect, and then they can not feel right, you know. But if you have some little human details in there like that, it can really make a difference in the way that the viewer feels about the artwork. Oh, thanks, Ashley. What's your favorite Leia to draw? I mean, Hoth Leia is maybe my favorite Leia. And after that, I really like a lot of her clothes from Return of the Jedi. Well, actually, I just like everything she wears in Cloud City in both movies, really. So, yeah, Empire, Hoth, and Cloud City. And then I've done some slave Leias with Joe, or some Jabba's prisoner Leias, but never really. Well, I did quite a few of those on my own when I was doing sketch cards, but not really as illustrations. Really, the only one I haven't done too much is the episode 4, like the classic Leia, which would be fun. But I think Hoth, like her Hoth battle gear is so cool. This adventure battle gear is cool. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I really like. I like Leia as the badass leader more than maybe some other variations on her. All right, so for the face, I think what I'm going to do is just go like really light with some shading to start with. I'm debating 10% or 20%, but maybe we'll start with the 10 and see how it looks. So, yeah, that might be right. How about you, Ashley? What's your favorite Princess Leia? If you have a favorite. Favorite Star Wars movie or series? Gosh, that's tough. I mean, I think Empire Strikes Back will probably always be my favorite of the original trilogy. It's just such like a tone perfect movie. I mean, I don't see that ever moving down on my list, but some people might be surprised that like Rogue One is really high on my list. I really dug that film, and I know some people say that it like doesn't really break any new ground or anything, but I for one like the way it tied into the original trilogy, and I'm super excited for the new Cassian Andor series that's going to be coming up. So yeah, I would say Rogue One is up there on my list, and then A New Hope for sure. I mean, pretty much anything Star Wars, I'm there, but those are my favorites. Yeah, I hear you about all the different variations on Princess Leia. I really do like Indoor Leia a lot. The speeder bike scene is really cool, but I get that they've got Luke and Leia in those helmets, probably more for when they were doing the stop motion animation, so they didn't have to make it look like them or whatever. But I find that version of her really hard to draw because it's really hard to get her likeness when she has the helmet on. I mean, if you take the helmet off, it gets easy, obviously, but and I usually like the tough versions of Leia, but I quite like that indoor like princess gown that she wears with the Ewoks. And I've been trying for years to get some art approved where I can put her in that costume, but it just hasn't happened yet. Oh yeah, the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One was, I mean, so good, and the fact that they say that was like a last minute addition just blows my mind because it's some of the one of the coolest things in the film. Okay, so that was 10%. So I guess I'm gonna jump up to 30. I really don't want it to be too dark, but I think we'll be okay. So here we are back to 30% again. There it is. And let's go back to that 10 for a second. Let's just lay in a little bit more. Something like that. Yeah, that should work. All right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Ashley, about Leia. I mean, she was great in Episode 4, but it just feels like she really comes into her own in Empire Strikes Back. I mean, we just get to see so much more depth to the character and get to see her as the leader, which is really nice. So I just want there to be like just a hint of shadow along the hairline, maybe on both sides a little bit. We can always come back with that 10% and add to it if we want to, but just so it's not like a stark contrast from black and white where her hair starts. And then we can always go in here and add some of this lighter value into the hair. Oh, thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Yeah, some of this stuff I see it as I go, and some of it I see after after I've done it, and I have to go back and touch it up. So thanks for the encouragement. All right, you guys know how it is. If I get quiet, it's because I'm concentrating. So trying to keep from smudging those lips all over the place. But I think we're getting it now. All right. Yeah, it's starting to look pretty good. I don't know how this 10% looks on camera, but it's about the right contrast in person. It's maybe a little bit light, but I think if it went any darker, it would be too dark. So, but speaking of that, we'll take the 10 and just do a little bit right in there. Cantina scene. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many good scenes, right? I mean, the cantina scene is freaking awesome. Jabba's palace, everything about that scene is amazing, especially like the fight with the Rancor. I mean, there's just so much good stuff. I'm going to try this 40% under her jawline. It's just a shade darker than what's on her face. If it's not dark enough, we'll go touch it up, but I think it'll work. Just a little bit of shadow to like pop her jaw. And since her costume's lighter, that'll help the collar of the costume pop too. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty cool. So I just need a few little black details in the hair to help these braids out a little bit. And some outlines. I don't know, what do you guys think? Anything else? Does it need anything else? So, I inked this line down here black. And now I'm wondering if I should ink this one black or not. But I kind of like it with just the marker. But I might have to, just so that the whole like perimeter is black. So I guess we'll do that. I mean, it wouldn't really be a sketch otherwise, right? Sorry for spinning this around. Just don't want to drag my hand through it. All right, I think I'm calling it. I mean, I could ink in the rest of that jawline, but I don't. I think the more ink we put on it, the less finished it's going to look. So I think I'm going to call it. All right, so there we go. This is our Princess Leia Adventurer, which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna grab the next one and we'll do our cool down sketch, which is Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? All right. So this person wanted an old school like 90s cartoon Carmen Sandiego. So this one should be pretty fast and fun. Did Ashley see the first sketch? I don't think so. Did you see the Ahsoka the White, Ashley? So here's the two so far today. And that Ahsoka, I'm pretty sure is D Sidious' sketch, so at least he got to see part of it. I was tempted to go straight to ink with this, but that seems like asking for trouble, so we'll throw down some black pencil first. But being that this one's based on a cartoon, we'll probably be able to do some pretty bold lines. Oh, thank you, Ashley. Yeah, it's the first time I've drawn that version of her, so that was fun. I was surprised there wasn't like more reference that I could find, but I think there's more cosplayers than there is actual reference footage.